So today we are addressing accountability in leadership, and we're looking at why sometimes if there is an issue with accountability, it would affect the performance of a team. So if you're a leader, maybe you're leading a team, you need to first and foremost ask yourself whether you know your team well. And if you know your team, are they performing at their best? If they are not, what could be the issue? And one of the things that we have identified is the accountability gap. It is one of the most underestimated performance killers in a team. And we'll be looking at why that is important. Sometimes we tend to assume things, and as we engage today, you will see why that is extremely important for us to understand what are those small things that tend to kill a team, especially when the team doesn't have very clear expectations, when people don't follow through what they say they will do, meaning it is inconsistent, when consequences are absent, someone has done something and people know that really whatever that person did was not right, and they didn't see anything happen to them, meaning consequences are not clear or they are absent altogether. When those things happen, then you will find that your team will begin to disengage. And there is nothing as bad as a team that has engaged, because no matter what you do, that team is not going to perform well. That is where you find that you have lost very good talent, because good talent, they don't want to work in an environment where there is uncertainty, where there is toxicity, because now if people are doing whatever they want, nobody is holding them to account. That is not a place where many people will want to find. And so when you find that your team is beginning to get engaged, and how will you know that your team is beginning to get disengaged? They won't really go the extra mile. They are not going to be talking much or contributing much into when you have a meeting, and they're likely to just do the bare minimum. When you find that happening in that team that you're leading, know that your team is bordering on a very dysfunctional team. So we will break down what we will call the performance gaps and try to help you understand how to identify those accountability gaps. So today we are just focusing on accountability gap as a performance killer. Remember, we are here to help you build teams that are performing well. And so we also need to identify what could stop our teams from performing well. That is what you're looking at today. So, but even as we talk about accountability gaps, how would that look like in your own team? Would you be able to identify? I have a few pointers that I can share with us that would help us see how to identify a team that has got accountability gaps. Number one, there is very unclear ownership. People don't own anything. They don't want to own a project. They don't want to own an issue or a solution, meaning that tasks can just float around with nobody in particular holding that to themselves, saying, I am responsible for this. When you find nobody wants really to take responsibility of a task, meaning tasks are just there, you ask who was supposed to do that. Oh, I thought Rolene was supposed to do it. Oh, Cynthia wasn't doing it, meaning nobody really, that task has nobody who is responsible for it. When you find that, it means that there is unclear ownership. Nobody can really say, I am the one responsible here. And when everybody assumes someone else is doing it, then you can be sure it is most likely not going to be done. So that is the first pointer for you to know that there is an accountability gap. When there is unclear ownership, you keep asking and everybody is saying, oh, so and so is supposed to do it. Oh, so and so is supposed to do, or such and such a department was supposed to do it. That is an indicator that there is an accountability gap. Number 2, no follow-up, no follow-through. Commitments are made in meetings, but they are not tracked. You have gone to a meeting, you have agreed on what to do, but nobody really took that responsibility. It is still borders on that unclear ownership. Nobody really is responsible for following through. So everybody gets out of that meeting. You have agreed on what needs to be done, but you forgot to say who needs to follow what. So you come back, you haven't really gotten much. There is no tracking that is happening. And of course, at the end, you are likely to miss deadlines. So anytime you see that nobody really is following up, maybe you are supposed to call a certain client, or you are supposed to find about, to look for a certain information, and nobody really comes to follow through, meaning the manager or the leader in that team just talked about it and assumed that the team is following through, but at the end of the day, nobody follows through. That is also another indicator that you have an accountability gap. Now, the other one that is there is lack of consequences. And this one may sound a bit interesting or a bit weird, but it is true. If there are no consequences, people have missed goals, there isn't any feedback or adjustment that is expected, then you can be sure that what you're doing in that team, you are just normalizing mediocrity. When people miss goals and nothing really seems to happen, yes, nobody sits to find out why were these goals missed. We had agreed to do this. Nothing seems to have been done. It may not happen in a normal team, but in the event you find this happening, then you know that you have an accountability gap. Then there is what we call the silent culture. The silent culture. What does that mean? Team members will hesitate to call out issues. Why? Because they are fearing that there will be conflict. They are fearing that they will be labeled negative. They fear that they are going to be looked at like the ones who are rocking the boat from within. And that is an organization or a team that is definitely not going to be performing well. It's going to be mediocre. It's going to be very difficult, especially for high performers. They cannot survive in that kind of a team where people are silenced because nobody wants to tell the king that he's naked. We have seen it. Nobody wants to say, oh no, that strategy will not work. So everybody is silent, or they keep saying, yes, 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 we will do it. And they know very well that will not happen. In fact, I usually tell leaders when I coach them, if you're in a team and everybody in that team is just saying yes, 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 or they're just clapping for you, nobody is really saying, challenging you or raising a different opinion, you should be very afraid. You should be very afraid as a leader. When you have a team and nobody can challenge you, it's a very, very dangerous position for you to be in. You are courting a team that will be disaster because all you're doing is to encourage a silent culture where people don't feel safe to raise a dissenting opinion. And in that kind of a situation, nothing really will go on. So those are some of the things that you can look at that can help you know you have an accountability gap here. You may not find all that in a team. You may find just one. It's probably there's no ownership, where nobody really takes a task and owns it and carries it to the end. Or you could be very weak in following through whatever you have agreed to follow through. Or it could mean that because of the way the culture of the organization is, or the way the team has been, there is no consequence, nothing, nobody is punished for anything. Not really, you don't want really punishment, but people need to be very clear. This is the goal that we are looking at, and for achieving the goal, this is what is likely to happen. If we don't achieve the goal, this is what is likely to happen. And people need to see that that is happening. Yes, we could be very good in saying, if you don't achieve your goals, this is what is likely to happen, and you enforce that. But you forget to enforce when people achieve the targets or the goals. It equally plays the same. It is the same. It doesn't matter. People will say, oh yeah, even if we do well, nobody appreciates us. So you need to be careful. It works both ways. Or it is just that silent culture. I remember working in an organization where people were so afraid. In fact, you could pick the silence. You could sense it. We walked into a room and nobody really wants to say anything. Nobody can say anything that is dissenting. And that was just how that organization was. So for me, when I went there, because I came from a very open culture, I found it very difficult. And I got into trouble many times because I wouldn't be silent. I would say, no, I don't think that would be, maybe we can try to do something different. And they didn't like that. They found that very strange. In fact, I remember some managers telling me, oh, no, you don't do that here. And I was wondering, why would I be silent? Why would I just say yes to someone? So I found that environment very difficult. And anyway, it happens. So you need to be careful. You don't have to experience all that. You don't have to identify or to experience all those gaps, but it is important for you to keep checking which of those gaps that are available in your team. Any thoughts? Any comments as we move on?
Yeah, I'm also not the silent one. I
You
used
don't
to
like you can be
I
silent.
used to cause problems all the time because I don't have filters. I usually say it as it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
Parik has said similar to difference between compliance and accountability. Am I
Yes,
right in mentioning the above? Yeah, go ahead, Parik, you can
yeah.
say.
So my point of view is, compliance is something which is mandatory, and that is
Mm-hmm,
why teams and leaders
mm-hmm.
take it as accountability. Whereas it is not accountability. Accountability is beyond compliance. It's commitment. That is my
Yes,
perspective.
yes, exactly. You're very right. Compliance is what you actually are expected to comply with, how you expected to perform. But now when it comes to accountability is what are you, it actually goes there. It borders on that, what you're saying, commitment. How are you
Yes.
taking this? Are you being accountable? Who are you being accountable to? Yeah.
Thank you. I have verified what doubt I had in my mind.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. Now, once you have identified that gap, you don't leave it, because if you leave the gap, then it is going to damage your team. So it is important for you to look for ways to close that gap or to mend it if there is something like that. So number one, if you identify the ownership gap, accountability gap, then you need to define what ownership means clearly for the people. The team members need to understand that every task should have a single accountable person. The challenge is when you're working in a team and this is supposed to be done by the whole team, then chances are there may not be someone doing it. So it is always good for you to always ensure that there is someone leading that task. Even if it's a task that is being done by many people, there must be that one person that is either the lead of that team, and the team members can actually identify who is going to be their lead for that particular task. That way, you will know that this is the person who will be held accountable. We will ask this person when this task is not done, or uh, just ensure that you have someone that you can look up to, someone that you can go back to and ask, how far are we with this? Or what is happening? What do we need to do? So that you're not leaving it for the entire team and then everybody feels it's not my responsibility. The other person feels it's not my responsibility. So make sure that That is not left hanging. Define ownership very clearly. Now, the other one is you need to keep track of the commitments that you have made. Remember when we talked about no follow through? You need to track. I have seen in offices some people put like a dashboard or a scoreboard or even checklists that will measure the progress. That also helps you know where you are. It will help you be able to identify where you are struggling. It will help you be able to see what is pulling you down. When you're not able to track, then you'll not be able to know what you're doing well or what you're not doing well. So having that commitment, tracking it visibly so that everybody knows where you are, that also introduces transparency. Remember, when you have someone who is held accountable, there is someone that is taking charge of that task, then there is nothing. And of course, when you have like now that dashboard, everybody knows what their role is. There is clear communication, it is transparent, and you can keep track of the progress. So that helps minimize that challenge of the gap of no follow through. That helps. It's also important to build a feedback loop. Sometimes when you don't ask people for feedback, you likely miss so much, because missed commitments should always trigger constructive conversations, not silence. If you have missed a deadline, it is important for you to ask yourself, why did we miss that deadline? What could we have done? If you had that track, if you're tracking your progress, then you would have identified. So it is always good for you to build that feedback loop. Allow people to speak. Don't be happy with silence. Actually, silence is bad in a team. If you walk into a meeting and you are the only person talking, the only thing that people tell you is, yes, yes, madam, yes, sir, know that you're actually in trouble. Allow people, be open, let them speak. Let them give their opinion. Let them tell you what challenges they're experiencing. If it's a task that is being done, don't wait until the end. Have bits when you're tracking. Use it as an opportunity to seek feedback from them so that they are also giving their input. Sometimes when you don't involve the team, they feel, okay, they don't think we matter, so it is okay. So you will actually introduce that laid back attitude. And so people still feel they don't really care. And it is not because they really didn't want to care. It's because you did not involve them. So it is important to always have that feedback and make sure that people are talking. If you miss a deadline, if you miss an opportunity, discuss, have a conversation. Why did we miss it? Don't entertain silence. That silence will kill their team. Number 4, normalize peer accountability. Let people hold each other to account. So encourage team members to respectively challenge each other when they notice that something is not working well. You have already set your standard. You've already said what you want to achieve. If you find that your team members are playing below what you expect or below the standard that you have set for yourselves, make it normal for peers to actually challenge each other and to hold each other to account. That way, it also lifts the burden from you as the leader when you allow or normalize that peer accountability, so that every member of that team knows that if I don't play my part, I am making the rest of the team fail or look bad, or I am going to fail the team. And making it quite normal that, yes, anybody can actually challenge each other. You're challenging each other as peers. So encourage that in the team. And it is also important to celebrate follow-throughs. One of the things that many teams ignore is the power of recognition. Recognizing those who have been doing well, recognizing those who have shown commitment, recognizing those that have followed through with whatever you agreed on. That is so important. So make sure that you reinforce that, because that is what reinforces a positive culture, a culture of follow through. But when you just ignore it, people are doing their best, someone is always following through, they don't fall back, and you don't seem to notice when they do it, that now tells people it is not important. And so what will they do? They will hold back. And there is nothing as bad as when employees hold back. So look for ways and means to recognize them, to make sure that you're recognizing top performers. That's why when you walk into some organizations, they actually put the picture of a person there, and they say, this is our team player for the month. Oh, this is the best. In fact, I think I saw that a lot in was it in Carrefour or in Java? I think it's in Java, where they have they have different categories that they acknowledge their people. There is the person who has had the most, I think, greeting or something, very small things, but they put it there. This is our best employees for the month. It is good, it helps, and it builds that culture of either follow through or whatever it is that you want them to do. So don't ignore recognition. It is very, 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 very important for you as a team leader to ensure that you keep recognizing people. Any questions? Any comments? Any comments? Are these something? Are these? Yes. Go ahead, Parik.
Please see my question in the chat box.
Oh, you have a question on the chat box. Let me go to the chat. Okay. Different leaders give different answers when asked, what's our strategy? Okay. Tell me. That's a question or it's a comment?
Yeah, it's a comment on, disconnect of the leader with the team, which results into lack of accountability.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I am wondering, when, looking at that question, I'm actually asking myself, different leaders give different answers when asked, what's our strategy? What would be a challenge there? Is it that the leader doesn't understand the strategy, or do they have a different strategy from the strategy the team has? What could be happening there?
In my opinion, what will be happening is a lot of gray areas will be exposed with the team not being accountable, because the leadership themselves are not following one particular strategy, but changing the strategy periodically.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Sometimes it's also because as a leader, you may not be quite clear as well on what it is, but it would be a very, very sad scenario when you, as the leader of a team, is not clear on the strategy. And one of the things that I keep telling leaders is, when you get to a position of leadership, if there is something that can make people disrespect you quickly, is when they realize that you are not really helpful. Because if they ask you a question like that, what is the strategy? And you give them a different answer, or an answer contrary to what they know or what they are expecting, there's a way your confidence gets eroded. There's a way the respect they have for you also gets eroded. So as a leader, you have to always be above, try to be ahead. And if you really feel that you don't know, it is okay. I'm actually wondering, are you the one giving the strategy? Are you coming up with a strategy as a team? All of you? I don't know. Parik, how do you get that? Because you're also a trainer. Parik, I asked a question. I'm not sure whether you got it. Okay. Maybe he's got okay.
Sorry, Alice, can I ask something?
Yes, go ahead.
When it comes to ownership,
Mm-hmm.
so for example, now, what should a leader or a manager do? For example, when a high-performing employee avoids taking responsibility consistently, what happens in that scenario?
Now, if you have been giving a task to a teammate, and they don't want to take that responsibility, there are many questions that you have to ask yourself. Is it that they don't have the competence to do it? What could be the issue? Just get into a discussion, because that's a bit strange. Why would someone not want to take the responsibility? Then what are you doing there? Is it that you're being given a responsibility, a task that is outside of what you need to do? Because if not, then it means you don't want to work. Simple.
It could be because every time it's the same person being given that responsibility because they're high performing, so they're tired of that.
And that is where now a discussion comes in. You need to actually engage in a conversation. You need to understand what exactly is the issue. But even you as a leader, if you're the one giving tasks, you need to also know why are you only picking on one person and not the rest? What does that mean to the rest of the team? Or is it that this is the only person who can do this particular task? And if it's the only person who can do that, what are you doing about the other people? Because you also need to exercise fairness when you're giving tasks. One of the things we tell leaders is when you're giving tasks to your team, first and foremost, you must be sure that whatever task you're giving to the people, you're assigning them, they have the capacity to do it. Because you don't just assign a task because it's a task that needs to be done, and you probably are not sure whether that person you're giving is qualified or has the capacity to actually do that task. That's number one. Number two, you must also ensure as a leader that the capacity, it is actually tied to the capacity. Because we always say, make sure that whatever task you're giving someone is in their area of strength. Because if you give someone a task and it's not in their area of strength, it's like you're setting them up for failure. In a situation where, like what now, Cynthia, you have said, this person is probably being given tasks because they are a high performer, they are good in doing it, and then they get tired, then that would mean there is a problem in the team. Is it that the leader, as a leader, you have not empowered the rest of the team to actually perform? And sometimes it happens. And the reason why it happens, we find some leaders who just they feel a little lazy to actually do their work, to coach their team well, to empower them so that everybody is up to speed. And so if in that kind of a situation, you're likely to see them relying on that one particular team member who is good. But that is not sustainable because it's not fair to the person if they are the only person who are being given the tasks because they can do it. What about the rest of the people? And again, you are there as a leader to build the people. So what are you doing about it? So there is a lot that statement would bring. If I were coaching that team, I would go further. I would get to inquire a little deeper, just to try and know what exactly is happening there, because it would mean a lot of things could be going wrong in that kind of a team. I hope that answers you.
Yes, it does. Thank you for that. Thank you for that as well, Cynthia.
Great. So we have looked at identifying the accountability gaps. We have looked at how that looks like, but now I want us to look at what would be the impact of those accountability gaps on a team, on team performance, because that is what our focus was. So when the accountability gaps are there, number one, you will find that there will be reduced trust. What would that mean? When there is reduced trust, it means that colleagues will stop relying on each other more, and this erodes collaboration. Sometimes that question that you have asked, Lorraine, it could be because of something like that. Either people in the team have been given tasks, but they don't do them well. So people get tired. And when people get tired of tasks not being done well, what that would mean is that I don't want to give them a task because they will not do it well. I will end up doing it again. So people don't trust you, so they don't give you tasks, and that means that collaboration will not be there. So before you know it, the few people who are doing well will get tired, will start getting burnt out, and they will start looking for a way out. So it reduces trust. If there is no trust within a team, that is not a good thing. Of course, it will lower productivity, because if only a few people are doing like the follow through, or nobody is taking responsibility of tasks, it means that productivity will be affected. And in some cases, you may find that work is being duplicated or it is being delayed. And this is simply because the accountability is not being enforced. Nobody is, the leader is not checking, well, who was actually responsible for that task. So if you are not quite sure, you may reassign that task to someone else, which means you're actually wasting the resources that you have. You're not utilizing the resources well. And that is not a good thing for you as a leader. Now, the other thing that would happen, okay, let me check. Yeah, the other thing that would happen and would, sorry, my notes are getting clogged down. Yeah, so it is, the accountability gaps are very subtle, but if you're not careful, they can actually damage a team. Productivity is very key. When people are not productive, then you can be sure that your team is not going to perform at par or at maximum. Some people will feel, we are the only ones who do work here. And again, remember we said where consequences are not enforced. So the people who are good in working, they are definitely going to feel like they are being overburdened, and they keep wondering, kwani we are the only ones who are carrying this team. And that is not likely to help the team in any particular way. So it is important for you as a leader to ensure that those things don't happen. Of course, when there is those kind of things happening, it's going to weaken the morale of the team, and especially those who are high performers. They will notice that there are some people who get away with little. There are some people who, even if they don't follow through or they have done very minimal, nothing happens to them, no consequence happens. So the high performers will feel frustrated when their effort isn't matched or is not recognized, because you don't want to feel like you're the only one. And that, of course, that could be a case in point, like what Lorraine had asked about someone saying they probably don't want to take tasks, and maybe because they are the only ones who are being given the tasks. That will actually kill the morale of the team. And once you kill the morale of the team, and especially your high performance, you can be sure you are on the way or to losing them. So it's not something that you need to ignore. Of course, at the end of the day, because we are there to serve customers, there is going to be poor customer outcomes, especially where you are talking about whether you like it or not, it's within the organization or within the team, that however the team is, it affects the outcomes of the customer experience. Because if people are not following through, or if people are not keen to take responsibility, it means that there is a way we could be affecting the way we are serving our customers. And customers usually know when there is an issue within a team, when there is infighting, or when there is a laissez-faire attitude within the team, the customers know, they get to understand. And when they get to understand, you can be sure that it is going to also now affect the way they relate with you. And that is going to bring out what we call inconsistent customer experience. Because maybe they have experienced very good service from the top performers, but when it comes to another person now serving them, they are not served in the same way. Because even in the team, the dynamics are different. It is not consistent. You're not following through the way you need to follow through. You have not identified all those gaps that we've talked about. So those accountability gaps are killers of performance within a team. And the minute you kill the team, you can be sure that will also affect the customer experience. And once that is affected, it may affect even the way they relate with us. We may start now losing business or losing customers, or they start now disconnecting themselves from us. And before we know it, it may be affecting the entire business as we know it. So it's something that we usually say it's very silent. We never talk much about it, the accountability gaps, but they are likely to really bring down a team, and they are likely to bring down an organization. So it's not something that we can ignore. I would want to stop there, but I would want to hear if there is any questions, any comments. Any questions, any comments? Okay, agreed. We lost your audio, really? Okay, I'm back now. Okay.
No, it was okay. It was on his end.
Okay. Accountability gaps on team performance, reduced trust, erode trust, collaboration. Yes, very true. Yeah, that is true. It affects a team very badly, and eventually it will affect the performance, and it will affect how we serve our customers. So it's something that we need to be wary of. We need to keep identifying so that we close that gap as soon as we see it in a team. Any comments, any questions? Okay.